All right, welcome back. Today we're talking about something that sounds almost impossible. How a single feature, basically just a dashboard, can end up creating a billion-dollar business. It all comes down to solving one of the absolute biggest headaches in technology right now.
So let's just ask the big question right up front. How in the world do you sell an AI that you can't even explain? I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a CEO for a second. You're about to stake your company's future, millions of dollars, on a technology that, well, it works inside a black box. It's a huge gamble, and that's the core problem we're going to unpack.
And here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the massive trust issue happening in the pharmaceutical industry. Then, we'll get into the brilliant control tower solution. After that, we'll talk about the one magic number that changes everything. Then, we'll see how this completely flips the business model on its head. And finally, we'll add it all up to see the billion-dollar difference. Okay, let's start with part one, pharma's huge AI trust problem. You could think of it as a massive $42 billion wall of distrust.
To really get why this is such a big deal, you have to understand this number. It costs, on average, $2.6 billion to develop one single new drug. When you're playing with that kind of money, the phrase, just trust me it works, is, well, it's not going to fly.
And this right here, this shows the giant disconnect. You've got 85% of pharma companies saying, yeah, we're interested in AI, but only 15% are actually using it at scale. That huge gap between interest and action, that's a $42.5 billion market just sitting there, completely locked up because of one single issue: trust.
This is the nightmare question for any executive. They ask a vendor, okay, so how does your AI actually work? And the answer they get back 9 times out of 10 is, oh, it's, proprietary algorithms. That's a complete non-starter. It's an immediate deal killer when you have to justify that kind of expense to a board of directors or the FDA.
So what's the fix? Well, it's something they call the control tower. And the idea behind it is actually incredibly simple. Make the invisible visible.
So the solution itself is an operational dashboard, but you got to think of this less as some complicated piece of tech and more as a pure business tool. Its whole purpose is to take that scary, mysterious black box AI and turn it into something that's totally transparent, completely auditable, and most importantly, trustworthy enough for a giant corporation to bet its future on.
The way this dashboard builds that trust is by breaking everything down into 6 simple layers of transparency. You can literally see where all the data comes from, what specific data the AI decided to use, how it's actually processing it, and what results it spits out. But then, and this is the key, it has an evaluation layer that gives it a quality score and a control layer that catches any errors automatically. There are no secrets. Every single step is laid bare.
And this leads us to the single most important thing that comes out of that control tower. We're talking about the 84% credibility score. Honestly, this one number is what unlocks everything else.
Now, to get why this number is such a game changer, you need a little context. In the pharma world, there's a line in the sand. For an AI tool to be taken seriously, to be considered production ready, it has to prove it can hit a quality score of at least 80%.
And what does this platform's dashboard show? A real-time, constantly validated score of 84%. It doesn't just scrape by, it clears the bar with room to spare. This number is a signal. It tells a CFO, a CEO, a regulator, hey, this isn't some cool science experiment. This is an investment-grade tool you can rely on.
And let's just put that 84% into perspective, okay? Sure, human experts are a little more accurate, but they are incredibly slow and expensive. The other AIs out there, they're all stuck down in the 60 to 75% range, and they give you zero transparency. This platform is the only one that delivers both high, validated accuracy and complete transparency. It's really in a league of its own.
Okay, so we've established trust. We have a score that everyone can believe in. But what does that actually do for the business? Well, let's look at the financial transformation this creates, which is all about going from small pilot projects to massive enterprise platforms.
And man, the difference is just night and day. Without transparency, you're looking at a sales process that's an 18 to 24-month-long painful slog that, more often than not, ends with a no. With the dashboard, that whole cycle shrinks to just 6 months and it ends in a multi-million-dollar enterprise deal. You stop selling tiny experimental pilots and you start selling the entire platform.
And here it is. This is the financial punchline. The LTV to CAC ratio, which is just a fancy way of asking, do we make more money from a customer than we spend to get them? It goes from 0.7, which means you are literally losing money on every single sale,
to an absolutely staggering 80x. That's the difference between a failing company and an unbelievably profitable one.
So let's bring it all home and actually put a number on this. This is the billion-dollar difference we've been talking about.
It all boils down to these incredible multipliers. Because of the trust that transparency creates, your deal sizes are 8 times bigger. Your sales process is 4 times faster. Your win rate more than doubles. And the lifetime value of a customer just explodes by 40 times. I mean, every single important business metric gets put on steroids.
And what's the result of all that? Well, this isn't just some made-up projection. This is a path built on those hard business metrics we just saw. The company's valuation is on track to blow past that billion-dollar unicorn status in year 4, and it's built almost entirely on the foundation of trust and credibility that one dashboard provides. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Transparency isn't just some nice-to-have feature. It's not a bell or a whistle you add on at the end. In this case, it is the entire business model. It's the one thing that lets this company even exist, let alone thrive, in an industry where the stakes are this high. Which kind of leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As AI gets more and more powerful, as it gets woven into the fabric of every single industry, could it be that transparency is the ultimate competitive advantage? Looking at this story, it's hard not to think the answer is a huge, resounding yes. Thanks for tuning in.